Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and with me, as always, for another fun mock draft show, D-Bro Derek Brown, sponsored by Prime Energy today. Scott Bogman from his friend's parents' house, and finally, a real professional, one of our draft analysts over here at Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros, Russell Brown is joining us here. Russell, thank you for coming on and bringing some sort of professionalism to this program. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. I'll try my best to stay professional, but I can't guarantee things because when we do this mock draft and D-Bro's taking my guys, it's probably going to get me a little upset here. So we're going to see what's going to happen.
There you go. All the feels. D-Bro, what's the blood sugar level before we begin today's 3-round mock?
Pretty good. I mean, this is 10 cal zero sugar, you know.
Have you tried the Prime? I know you're more of a monster guy. Did you try the Prime yet?
I have not, man. I have not. I stick to what I know and I stick to what's good. So, yeah, Sunrise and 0 cal monsters, baby. Okay. I'm not, I swear, I promise I'm not trying to get us a monster sponsorship at all. Although if they would like to, I wouldn't hate it.
You'd be the perfect person. Scott Bogman, are you under the influence of anything for today's draft?
No, nothing but vacation. So that's the only thing I'm under the influence of. So
now they're probably
ready to go. I will have to look at my phone because I'm, not at my normal spot. So I'm not texting. I swear I'm looking at notes, everyone. So
sure.
Please don't think I'm unprofessional.
He's not sending me 25 reels during the show. That's not happening.
That's right after the show.
Yeah, that's right after the show.
All right, today we've got an incredible 3-round mock draft. So we're going to fly through here. We're going to focus on the fantasy assets first and foremost, as always. And to start things off here, let's start with the number 1 pick, which goes to our professional here at Fantasy Pros. Russell, you are on the clock for the Titans. What do they do?
We're going quarterback. I mean, you look at the way that they've constructed their roster. They only really have Will Levis there, and it's not pretty. We know what Will Levis is. He's not the player that we thought he was going to be coming out of Kentucky. So with this pick, we're going Cam Ward, quarterback out of Miami, Florida. I think he's got a ton of upside, and if this is a offense that needs a jump start, Cam Ward could be that guy. I think he throws with great velocity. He's got the desired mobility. He can extend plays beyond the pocket. He's the type of quarterback that you build around. And if there's any quarterback with the most upside or the highest upside of any quarterback in this draft, I would say Cam Ward is that guy. So he's a no-brainer for me here with the first overall pick.
Russell, a lot of people have had a lot of comments that this quarterback class isn't what we're used to necessarily. That being said, where does Cam stack up in your opinion in that sense? I know you said like he's got the highest upside and all of that, but in terms of, where he would have landed in your rankings last year, would he been the 4th or 5th guy, or would he been 2 or 3?
Yeah, he would have been the 4th or 5th, maybe even 5th or 6th quarterback. I'm with a lot of people here that it's not a great quarterback class. You're really hoping that Jackson Dart can be potentially that guy. You're hoping that Shedeur Sanders can be that guy or Cam Ward. But it is just tough to say what this class is going to be in the NFL because there are so many flaws and things that need to be fixed with the group. So when you look at Cam Ward, he presents that upside because of the velocity and the way he can throw the football down the field. The hope is that he can become that franchise-altering, superstar-type quarterback. So he's my 2nd-ranked quarterback in this class. He's my 22nd overall player in this class. I like him, don't love him. But again, if I'm the Titans, this is the guy that, to me, has won a lot of people over throughout the draft process. So he just makes a lot of sense here in this spot.
Okay, so 2nd quarterback. Speaking of 2nd, Cleveland Browns on the clock. Scott Bogman, you're up.
Yeah, we're going to go with Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback out of Colorado. And I agree with Russell. I do think these guys would be 5, 6, 7 in last year's class. But there are just so many QB-desperate teams. I mean, right now, if you don't take Shedeur Sanders at 2, or Jackson Dart, I guess, if they have a surprise, like our boy D-Bro likes to think that maybe that can happen. But Shedeur, I think he should be like a late first-round pick, not a high first-round pick, but you cannot go into the season with Kenny Pickett as your starting quarterback. I know that from experience. So being a Steelers fan. So I don't think that that's what they're going to do. I think this is the plan. We've also heard the rumors of trading number 2 overall to the Cowboys for Dak Prescott. Like that's even a real thing. But I just think that this team needs a focus shift. And I think getting a new quarterback would absolutely do that for them. And I think Shedeur Sanders can develop into a pretty decent quarterback in the NFL. I don't think he's going to ever be like a top 10 guy in the NFL in terms of NFL stuff. Maybe for fantasy if he starts taking advantage of his legs, but I don't think that that's really in his game either. So I think that this is what the Browns want to do. I think everything that they've done in the offseason shows this is their plan, and that's why I would take Sanders here. Because personally, I think Hunter and Carter are can't miss, and that's what I would do. But all the signs point to the Browns taking a quarterback here.
Real quick, Bogman, would Jerry Jeudy's fantasy value go up in your opinion if Shedeur is the Week 1 starter?
Yeah, I think it would have to because it's it hit its peak with Jameis Winston. I don't know if we can get it there again, but it's definitely better with Sanders than it is with Pickett.
All right, so more talents on the board of the Giants at 3. D-Bro, where do they go?
I think they're running the card considering how this board played out. And honestly, this is where I think the NFL draft is right now. I think you're seeing the moves that Cleveland made or the Giants have made specifically with their quarterback room. I think that this kind of tells us that this draft probably goes QB, and the Giants will be on the outside looking in. That's why they signed Russell Wilson, signed Jameis Winston. So let's give them the best guy left on the board here. Cornerback, wide receiver, Travis Hunter out of Colorado, and feels a need either side of the ball, however you want to slice this, man. They signed Paulson Adebo this offseason. Deontay Banks wasn't good last year. They can also use a playmaker on the offensive side, so Travis Hunter is just the easy pick here.
Okay, which means my favorite player is still on the board for my Patriots, Russell Brown. Come on, give it to me.
Yeah, we're running this one in. Abdul Carter, edge out of Penn State. Second overall player on my board here. You got a terrific athlete, a guy that's got an impressive first step, shows the desired bend and fluidity, 6'3", 250. So much to love within his skill set. And when you look at the New England Patriots, Mike Vrabel, defense. I know they brought in Harold Landry, but, oh, what a shame. You add another talented pass rusher into the mix as you try to bring down the Jets, you bring down the Bills and Josh Allen. And if you are going to be a serious team and you're pushing into the playoffs and you got to take down Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, like I said, Patrick Mahomes, you got to have a pass rush. So I think Abdul Carter is a no-brainer here for New England.
Next up, the Jaguars at 5. Back to Scott Bogman.
Yeah, we're going to go Mason Graham, the interior defensive lineman from Michigan. And just last season, Jaguars defense was still bad, 25th in rushing yards allowed, 28th in sacks. Carter and Hunter are gone. I think Mason Graham is the third best player in this draft. Non-quarterback, obviously the quarterback's just valued so much higher, but I think putting him in the middle of this line, they already have good players on the edge. I think this would really help this team specifically in stopping the run. I mean, Mason Graham can do it all, so I think this would be kind of a no-brainer for them at this point in the draft.
It's number 6, and it's time for the Las Vegas Raiders to make their first pick. D-Bro, what do you have?
The Raiders can go a lot of different ways here. I'm going to go with the chalk, and I'm going to give them Ashton, Jeanty, running back out of Boise State. Yes, it could be a Pete Carroll type of pick. For me, I think the Raiders could either go with this, take the best guy off the board. They could also go corner. They could also go McMillan here. So I'm going to give them Jeanty just to give them the engine of the offense, considering and address maybe pass catcher later in this draft.
By the way, I just want to reiterate what you said about those giant quarterbacks. I agree. I think it locks them into Travis Hunter because clearly they know those first 2 picks are going to be the first 2 quarterbacks. So I think we're getting everything rounding into form, which is fun because that top of the board might be a little bit more solidified, but we still are at the top of the board. And Vegas now getting an incredible piece there in Jeanty. That brings up the Jets at number 7. Back to you, Russell. Now that Jeanty's off the board, which way do they go?
Yeah, I was professional when I started the show, and now it's just off the rails. I'm no longer professional because we're going fantasy here. I'm not a Jets fan, but if they're building this thing around Justin Fields, and I don't know what Aaron Glenn's going to do. I watched him for a long time here in Detroit. He may go defense. He may go offensive tackle realistically. But for me, I'm going McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona. I want to get a complimentary piece with Garrett Wilson. I want to see Justin Fields succeed. I need the offense going, and you get a guy that has great size at 6'4", 219, ran a 4.48 40 at his pro day. Some say in the 4.5 range, but he's got elite ball skills with a massive catch radius. He works his hands against physical defenders. Shorter arms at 31.5. We'll see what that does at the catch point against those physical defenders. But the fluidity, the size, the ball skills, it's all there for McMillan as the number 7 overall pick going to the Jets. I think it's a home run for them to pair him with Wilson and Fields.
Yeah, all of a sudden, Justin Fields has a lot to work with over there in that Jets offense. Carolina Panthers are up at 8. Scott Bogman.
I mean, just the worst defense maybe in the history of the league last year. Most rushing yards allowed. So they need a lot of help on defense. And Jalen Walker is, in my opinion, the best defensive player here. He's probably an edge. He can play middle linebacker as well, so he can do anything really the Panthers need him to do. They were 29th in sacks. They need players all throughout the defense, and I think Jalen Walker is easily the best one available. I watched him and Michael Williams tear up my Longhorns O-line in the middle of the season, so I know exactly how disruptive these guys can be. So I think Jalen Walker going here to Carolina just really gives a boost to that defense as an overall, no matter where they put him.
Next up, the New Orleans Saints at number 9. Derek Brown's on the clock.
I could go a few different directions here, boys. Corner is still a need for the Saints. They could be a sneaky quarterback team. I'm going to give them an earth mover, a guy that I don't think falls down the board. I know he's going in the late 20s in some mocks. Come on, man. Big body dudes that can move people around don't go down the board. I'm going to give them Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle out of Michigan. Brian Brisset, their last shot at a D tackle in the first round hasn't worked out to this point. They got to get somebody to stop the run.
All right, so stopping the run there. Next up here, after you have the New Orleans Saints going, you have Russell back again, number 10 for the Chicago Bears.
Going with one of my favorite players in the draft and going away from the Will Campbell stuff, the running back, wide receiver, tight end, all the fantasy options that there are on the offensive side because we've got Ben Johnson. I'm going defense here. I'm thinking outside the box. Malachi Starks, safety out of Georgia. My 4th overall player in this draft, my number 1 ranked safety, one of my top defensive players. He's incredibly versatile. He operates in space with fluid hips and great body control. He can change direction on a dime. I love the way he triggers downhill. 6'1", 197. He gives them a long-term option, whether it's at nickel or at safety. Kevin Byard is in the last year of his deal. He'll be 32 in August. I think that this would be a home run for Chicago, and exactly what they do is they try to stop the offenses in the NFC North.
Bears have had a good offseason. I wish I could say the same for the 49ers. At 11, Scott Bogman, how do they improve?
Yeah, I think you go Will Campbell. I think he's the best offensive lineman on the board here, and we know the Niners still have weapons, even though after they had a lot of trades, their defense is still strong. So you have to make a plan for Trent Williams to be gone. He's getting long in the tooth. There was a little question about Will Campbell. Is he going to be a guard because of his arm length? Was he going to be a tackle? He came in just over the threshold of 33 inches on the arm length at his pro day. I think it was like 33 3/4. So, but I think this year, if you have Trent Williams back, which they have said the plan is, let's stick Will Campbell at left guard for the season and then slide him out to tackle when Trent Williams leaves. I think that just improves this offensive line a lot. We can get back to wider holes for Christian McCaffrey if he's back, and couple more Mississippis for Brock Purdy there. It makes everybody better in fantasy. So
you could certainly use 1 or 2 more, that's for sure. It's funny because all the early mock drafts, we had Campbell going all the way to 4 to the Patriots, and now calculus is starting to change a little bit, and all of a sudden he's slipped all the way to 11. So interesting value there. The 12, the Dallas Cowboys. Debro, offense or defense?
We're going offense, man. I mean, the Dallas offense is so unserious outside of Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. I mean, Jalen Tolbert. Oh, I'm sorry. Dismissive of Jonathan Mingo in that trade last year. So maybe I shouldn't go pass catcher here. Come on,
the
man.
Mingo ate my baby.
They need somebody to catch the ball there. I mean, we saw this last year. It was CeeDee Lamb, and it was basically nobody on that offense. Let's give Matthew Golden, wide receiver out of Texas, stay in the same state, get somebody that can stretch the field and speed. Dak Prescott would be pumping his fist, just happy and elated at this pick.
Makes me happy and elated. Well, that's my favorite wide receiver. He's going to a good situation, and I'd be buying low on Dak Prescott everywhere if this happens. Miami,
smart man, Joe. You're a smart man.
That's right. It's not all about looks. It's also intelligence. All right, at 13, the Miami Dolphins are up next. Back to you, Russell.
Going defensive end, Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M here. You look at the Dolphins' defensive line. It's very thin. They've got Benito Jones at nose, Matt Dickerson, Zach Sealer. There's not much there. They need a guy that can play as a 4-eye, a 5 technique. Stewart can do that. He's incredibly versatile. He can align anywhere. Explosive first step. We're looking at 6'5", 267, ran a 4.59, 40-inch vertical. He's explosive. There's production gaps, no doubt about it. He was not very productive, but he didn't really become a full-time starter until this season. So the tools are there. The athleticism is there. I think Stewart can be a guy that you put him in Miami, you develop him, and maybe he can become something for a defensive line that desperately needs help.
Colts are up at 14. Scott Bogman, it feels like we got to start giving some Texans guys away, right?
Yeah, look, I mean, after we had an Aggie go, I got to get the taste out of my mouth. So let's give the Longhorns to the Colts here. Jedi Barron, my favorite defensive back of this class, obviously, because he played at Texas, but a guy that, they weren't sure. Let's put him outside and see if he worked because he started his career at safety. He was the best corner in the country last season, and I think the Colts 26th again in passing defense. It's a big hole that they have right now. I think Barron is the best defensive back on the board, so let's go there for the Colts here.
At 15, the Atlanta Falcons, Derek Brown.
Well, the needs are well known here for the Falcons. I mean, if it's not pass rush, it's got to be corner. I mean, these are the names of the corners starting opposite A.J. Terrell right now, penciled in. Clark Phillips and Mike Hughes. That's not going to get it done, boys. Let's give them a corner that can actually keep up with A.J. Terrell on the outside. Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan. Let's go. Move Hughes back into being a nickel and vastly improve this Falcons pass defense.
At 16, the Arizona Cardinals, 2 corners in a row. You going to make it 3 in a row, Russell?
I thought about it, but I'm going to go with Armand Membo, offensive tackle from Missouri. I know this team has Jonah Williams, but they could move him inside. They could move Membo inside. There was some thought early in the draft process that maybe he does play guard. That could still be the case for him at 6'4", 332. He's got a thick frame, a strong lower half. He plays square in the run and pass game. He's a technician, and he's incredibly powerful. Some of the best finishes in all of this draft for offensive tackles and any offensive lineman. So I think that this one would be protecting Kyler Murray, investing in building around him and Marvin Harrison Jr. So I think that this would be a no-brainer for Arizona to help the offensive line that they have.
All right, so Membo off the board. I want everybody watching and listening to Membo that if you want to use the draft simulator right now to get ready for all of your rookie drafts, well, it's ready and waiting for you at fantasybros.com/simulator. You can customize your league settings to match your exact league format. And remember, if you're a premium subscriber, you can use trade scenarios by mocking with other traded draft picks and prepare for all of your rookie drafts and your dynasty startups in one place with our rookie draft simulator right now. And it's available right now, currently, fantasybros.com/simulator. So get running those mocks today. You can complete a mock in just minutes. And no waiting in between picks. That's the worst. The waiting is the hardest part. So let's not wait anymore. Let's go to Scott Bogman for pick number 17 for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, you have to give them defense, right? They just spent all of the money they have on offense. So Chase and Higgins getting all of the money. There's also talk about Trey Hendrickson getting traded. So I'm going to give them Mykel Williams, the edge rusher out of Georgia here. And it doesn't really matter if they trade Hendrickson or not. I think they're kind of limping into that. I don't think it's something that they actually really want to do. Obviously, they let Sam Hubbard go and he retired. But, I mean, past Trey Hendrickson right now, it's Joseph Osai, Cam Sample, Miles Murphy, Isaiah Thomas. There's just not a lot of good depth to this line, and you have to have it if you're Cincinnati. So I think they could take multiple players along the defensive line in this draft, and I would not be shocked. But we'll start with Mykel Williams. He's a good run defender, push end. He can get to the quarterback as well if given the opportunity. But I just think he'd be the perfect type of end opposite of Trey Hendrickson or another type of speed rusher.
Okay, next up here, the Seattle Seahawks at 18, Derek Brown.
Going to go off the board here a little bit, and I know people might be surprised by this pick, but I think it really helps in 2 different ways. I'm going to give Seattle Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State. And people could say, they need to go O-line. Well, when you have a monster that can also catch passes and run block and pass protect, you're helping out 2 different areas for Sam Darnold here. And no, having Noah Fant on this roster is not going to sit here and preclude you from taking a blue chip player, one of the best prospects in this class, that's going to help in a multitude of ways for Seattle.
Okay, next up here, first tight end off the board, by the way. 19, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Back to you, Russ.
We're just going to follow suit. We're going to take another tight end here. We're going to go with my 11th overall player, my second-ranked tight end, Colston Loveland, tight end out of Michigan. I know that doesn't necessarily seem like a need for Tampa Bay, but this is a team that has a decision to make. Do they re-sign Cade Otton after the season or not? He hasn't necessarily been the most productive tight end in football. And I think if you're building this thing around Baker Mayfield, we're seeing the money that they've spent around guys like Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and other players. I think getting a younger tight end, Colston Loveland, you can have him for 5 years here. You get a fluid route runner, a guy that can show multiple routes across the field. He secures passes away from his body. I love the way that he lowers his pad level within his routes. So I think this guy is the modern day tight end that can run vertically. He can run those quick outs. He reminds me a little bit of Dalton Kincaid. I think that this would be a great fit for Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay offense.
How much of a gap is there between Warren and Loveland for you?
Not a significant gap. I mean, we're talking as far as the grades go, they might have been 2 or 3 points off. The thing I liked about Tyler Warren was just his ability to play in line a little bit better. And some of the things Tyler Warren does on tape, it's remarkable for a player that's 256 pounds. You go to that Maryland game, he hurdles defenders at the snap of a finger. So really enjoyed his tape and the way he does things in multiple facets of the game.
Okay, next up we have the Denver Broncos at 20, Scott Bogman.
Yeah, we're going to keep going offense here. Let's go. Marion Hampton, the big running back out of North Carolina, to the Denver Broncos. They've had issues at this position. Jeanty is gone now in Dallas, so it's Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Esime is the combo that they have right now. I think giving them a guy like Hampton, a big guy that can handle the workload, 282 touches 2 years ago, 319 last season. We know he can handle a heavy workload, and you're giving Bo Nix a little bit of a breather. I mean, there's targets to be had in this draft as well for him, so I think that's a way they can go, but they added Evan Ingram, a big target in free agency already, and I think this shores up that position that is very weak on a very good team. I mean, this team can't push for the division if Bo Nix plays like he did last year again. So defense was great. Let's give him a big-time running back to really help him close out games.
It's a great landing spot for Hampton. At 21, the Pittsburgh Steelers. D-Bro, what do you have?
I don't know if Scott Bogman's going to hate me or love me with this pick, but I would much rather the Pittsburgh Steelers be sitting with Jackson Dart under center in week 1, quarterback out of Ole Miss, who currently is at his pro day, tossing darts right now as we're recording this. Give me Jackson Dart over Aaron Rodgers for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 2025 season. I'm here for it, man.
100%.
He's one of the best deep ball passers, arguably the best deep ball passer in this class. You mix that with George Pickens, DK Metcalf. Let's go. Let's go.
He's having his pro day today, right? Boggs, are you happy about this or sad about this? What's your
Yes, of course I'm happy about it. I don't want Aaron Rodgers at all, even a little bit. I'm not a big face Mace fan at all. I'm not a Mason Rudolph guy at all. I do not like him. So, yes, I would love this pick for Jackson Dart. I do think he'll definitely start this year, and I would prefer to see him sit a year. So, it's probably a better pick if they do get Aaron Rodgers, as much as it disgusts me to say that. But either way, the quarterback position has to be addressed. So, yeah, I love it.
All right, next up here at 22, the Chargers. Back to you, Russell.
We're going to go Donovan Azaruku. I probably butchered the name, as I always do, any name. But I love this kid. I think he would make a lot of sense for the Chargers. They only have Khalil Mack for one more year. You know he's at the end of the line here. They moved on from Joey Bosa. So you got to get somebody else in there to rush the passer. And I think you get a guy that 6'2", 248 pounds, great length. He's got 34.5-inch arms. He's explosive. And he reminds me a little bit of Harold Landry when he was coming out. So I like his skill set quite a bit here. And if the Chargers are going to follow exactly what we have the Patriots doing earlier in this draft, adding pass rushers, you can do exactly that by getting after Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, and the quarterbacks that are in the AFC. So this one is a no-brainer for me.
Okay, next up here we have the Green Bay Packers at 23, Scott Bogman.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Walter Nolan, the big interior defensive lineman from Ole Miss. Improved when he got away from A&M. Not a surprise there. But much better player this season. I think they need a pile pusher in the middle. Devontae Wyatt was very good. Kenny Clark's getting a little bit older. Carl Brooks and Wolden are okay, but I just think getting Walter Nolan here is one of the better defensive linemen left. I think that's one of the few focuses that they need. So I think this is a good fit.
Okay. Next up, we have Derek Brown and the Minnesota Vikings at 24.
Vikings have filled a lot of needs this offseason. A lot of contracts have been signed. I'm going to help them fill another need. Maybe not this season, but Harrison Smith is not getting any younger, man. Let's give them safety Nick Imanwari out of South Carolina. He's going to be crushing people in the NFC North for the next few years.
All right, Houston Texans are up next at 25. You got to give them offensive line, right, Russell?
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with their offensive line.
They don't either.
Do they?
Yeah. But maybe they're on to something. Maybe they know that a player like Calvin Banks out of Texas, that's who I'm going to give them. Maybe they know he'll be there at 25, or maybe he's a player they can trade up for in this draft. But he's an incredibly smooth operator, always under control, plays with quick feet, a clean base. Like I mentioned, plays square, 6'5", 315 pounds. I think this guy is a plug-and-play left tackle. You can maybe move him over to the right side if you want to, but he's got 42 starts at tackle, so you're getting an experienced player that is incredibly clean for the offensive tackle position. This one makes a lot of sense for a team that needs a lot of help up front.
All right, next up at 26, you have the Rams and Scott Bogman.
Yeah, this is why I love doing a mock with different people, because Campbell never falls to me if I have the Rams here at this pick. And I think Jahad Campbell, the linebacker out of Alabama, is just such a perfect fit for this team. They also need a wide receiver. That wouldn't have been a bad pick either. But, they're set at running back with Kyron and Blake Corum. I think they could use some defensive backs, but I just think getting Omar Spates, a little bit more breathing time, and they don't have a lot of depth at pass rusher behind Fiske and Byron Young. There's not a lot there. Campbell can do both. He can play inside. He can move outside. I think it's just too much of a perfect plug-and-play fit for the Rams to pass up at this point. So wide receiver would have made sense here, but I just think Campbell is the only really good middle linebacker in this class. So I think he's a day one plug-and-play if he falls to them at 26.
Yeah, and that defense was much improved by the end of the year last year. The Baltimore Ravens, 27, Derek Brown.
Just make this easy, boys. Let's fill a need here. Tyler Booker, offensive guard out of Alabama. I know that he's slipping into the second round in some mocks and stuff like that. Still a first-round player. Just make this easy.
Okay, that was easy. My goodness, you hit that easy button. The Detroit Lions at 28. Back to you, Russell.
Yeah, and I will just say, Tyler Booker, that's such a Ravens pick.
Isn't it, though?
I mean, it just completely. But for me here, 28 with the Lions, I'm going to take Derek Harmon out of Oregon. He's a Detroit native, 6'4", 315 pounds. Very versatile. Again, plays 4-eye, can play a 3-tech. Most teams think he's probably going to be a 3-tech in the NFL, but again, he can bump out to those wider alignments, 4-eye, 5, and so on. I think he makes a lot of sense here. You got Lee McNeil coming back from a torn ACL. DJ Reader is not signed beyond this year, so you need some help in the middle of your defense. I think Harmon provides that here at pick 28.
Washington Commanders up at 29, Scott Bogman.
Yeah, they've made a couple of huge trades, right? They got Debo, they got Laramie Tunsil, so let's focus on the defensive side. James Pierce Jr., the edge from Tennessee, is still on the board here, and they just don't have a lot. Right now it's Clellan Ferrell, it's Jacob Martin, it's Dietrich Wise, and Dorrance Armstrong. I think this gives them a young edge rusher to really put pressure on QB, so I think this is the best fit for Washington by a pretty wide margin.
The Buffalo Bills at pick 30, Derek Brown.
Buffalo's already done the Dane Jackson experiment, making him a starting corner. I think they're not going to go back down that road. Let's fill a corner need here, boys. Trey Amos, cornerback out of Ole Miss.
Okay, and we're going to go back to Scott Bogman here for 31 for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle from Ohio State. It's the same guy I gave them when I had the Chiefs in the last mock that we did. I just think that this fit is too good. They need the offensive line. It was clearly the weakness of this team, and it was exposed in the Super Bowl by the Philadelphia Eagles, they just have a ridiculous defensive line, but this is how they got chewed up, and they kind of got blueprinted, and if you don't fix that blueprint in one offseason, every team is going to try to do it to you. So I think Josh Simmons just getting an anchor at left tackle for Patrick Mahomes for a couple years would be a very smart way to go about things.
And closing out round one, the Philadelphia Eagles, the champs. D-Bro, where do they go?
Fastest corner at the NFL Combine. We need to give them another stud. I know Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean are awesome, but losing Darius Slade does hurt. Keely Ringo, Adoree Jackson, they don't want them starting on the outside, man. Let's give them cornerback Maxwell Harrison out of Kentucky.
All right, there you have it. Round one is in the books. Let's get to round two. Before we do, just a quick shout out. When it comes to college basketball and March Mania, only one thing is for sure. Nothing is for sure. Upsets, buzzer beaters, Cinderella stories, top seeds going home early. It's all happening right now, and you can bet on the unexpected every single time with DraftKings Sportsbook. And with live betting, exclusive content, promos, and parlays, DraftKings is the ultimate college basketball destination this March. Bet on the unexpected with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today. Use that promo code FANTASYPROS. That's code FANTASYPROS for new customers to get 200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Let's get to the second round and crown some new NFL players. Let's start with the Cleveland Browns at 33. Russell, you're on the clock.
I'm going Mike Green, the edge rusher out of Marshall. I think this one makes quite a bit of sense. I've been saying that quite a bit with a lot of these players, but pairing him up with Myles Garrett, he ran a 6.85 3-cone drill at the Marshall Pro Day. He's checked off a lot of boxes with just how athletic he is, how versatile he is, how explosive he is. 6'3", 251. That was a big number down at the Senior Bowl. He hit that. So you got to love what Mike Green provides, and pairing him up with Myles Garrett. I mean, getting after the quarterback, that's what it's all about there for Jim Schwartz in Cleveland.
Next up, the Giants at 34, Scott Bogman.
Let's go with Luther Burden, the wide receiver out of Missouri. And this is what happens when we're looking at some of these team needs, who's available, and free agency. Some of these players start to slip down the board. And we saw a couple of really good wide receivers slip to the top of the second here. Luther Burden is one of them. Not as good a year last season at Missouri as his previous season, but still an incredibly good athlete. I think he instantly adds something to this offense for whoever is throwing the ball between Winston and Wilson here. So I think this would just be a very, very good fit for this team who, they got Travis Hunter. So now you potentially have two big weapons going to this team and a corner. So kind of three players and 2 picks here. I like it.
Would the Burden selection mean that Hunter is just a corner for the Giants?
I think so.
Yeah, okay. I just want to put that around there.
I think they would still use him in packages. I think he would still, because
but probably not like
Burden's
20
snaps,
snaps, maybe like 10 to 12. I think it would.
Okay. No, I'm just curious how many you would think for him. All right, let's go to 35 here. Derek Brown, let's go to the Tennessee Titans.
You got to give their new franchise passer a weapon, boys. Come on, let's make this easy. He ran a fast 40 at his pro day. Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver out of Ohio State. Let's go, Tennessee.
Okay, next up here we have the Jaguars at 36. Russell, back to you.
Yeah, we're going Azare Thomas, the corner out of Florida State. We know that if Travis Hunter was to fall to them at 5, that would probably be who they take. But we're going to take Thomas. Great length, 32 and 3/8 arms, very fluid. He's got the ball skills. This is a guy that you can probably make as your CB1 in an offense in a defense that probably needs a serious amount of help in the back end.
All right, the Raiders could use some help at the corner position. Bogman, is that where they go?
Yeah, Siobhan Ravel, the big corner out of East Carolina here. 6'2", 194, kind of a bully, very fast for his size as well. I think that he fits the Raiders' MO perfectly and gives them a really good pass defender that they did not have going in. So I think that's a pretty good landing spot for him.
All right, D-Bro, the Patriots didn't get their offensive lineman in the first round. Did they get him here at 38?
Yep. I mean, they got a blue chip player in that top 5. But they did that because they know they can go around in the second round and get a really good tackle. Josh Connolly, offensive tackle out of Oregon, whether he plays right or left tackle, doesn't matter, man. They need blockers.
Next up here is the Chicago Bears at 39. Back to you, Russell.
I might make D-Bro mad here, but I'm taking our boy.
Hey, I'm here for it. Second round, let's go.
That's all right. You guys can have joint custody every other weekend. He'll go to Derek's house. It'll be fine.
Jalen Noel, wide receiver out of Ohio State, 5'10", 194 pounds. So much to love within his game. He's got great burst after the catch. He's got the contact balance. He's a shifty route runner. This is about putting a weapon around Caleb Williams, even though you did that last year with Rome Odunze. But now you've got DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, add Jalen Noel in there. This is just a fun offense, even though I'm not a Bears fan, but this would be fun for Chicago.
Sure would. At 40, boy, all the toys for Ben Johnson in this draft. 40, the New Orleans Saints up. Scott Bogman.
Yeah, I think we just have to patch up this O-line here. Ariante Ursary is still on the board. He's a massive offensive tackle, big wall of a man. One of the few guys to really shut down Abdul Carter in last season in college football. So let's take him, plug him in at left tackle. Fuaga has played right tackle at Oregon State, played for them last year mainly at left tackle. So let's push him to the right side and just get this offensive line fixed, because obviously the Saints are in a rebuild right now. Earmuffs, D-Bro. Earmuffs.
D-Bro, another pick for the Bears here at 41. Where do they go with this one?
Well, they addressed safety. They addressed wide receiver. Grady Jarrett, I know they brought him in. He's not getting any younger. Gervon Dexter hasn't been like the difference maker they wanted. So let's give him D-tackle Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State.
Okay, the Jets on the clock here at 42. Russell, next up for them, with all these offensive weapons, you want to start beefing up that line?
I do. I want to help Justin Fields as much as I possibly can. There's not really a true starter in New York at right tackle. Carter Warren, who I liked coming out of Pitt, I don't know if he's necessarily the guy. We're going to go Arizona offensive tackle Jonah Savina. I think he can play left tackle, right tackle. He might even be a guard, but great flexibility, really strong. This guy makes a lot of sense here at pick 42 for an offensive line that needs some revamp.
In round one, the 49ers went on the offensive line side of the ball at 43, Bogman. Where do they go next?
We're going to go D-line here, and we give Nick Scourton out of Texas A&M because outside of Nick Bosa, there's just not a lot at edge for them. It's Yetur Gross-Matos, who had a bad year last year. Drake Jackson hasn't been the same since his injury, and just not a lot behind him. I think Scourton is a good pass rusher right here, good run stuffer too for A&M last season. So I think he's just the best pick on the board that fits a big need for the Niners.
At 44, the Dallas Cowboys, Derek Brown, you're on the clock.
Let's stay on the offensive side of the ball, boys. Brock Hoffman, Robert Jones, they're just keeping the spot warm for Greg Zabel, offensive guard out of North Dakota State.
Indianapolis Colts at 45. Back to you, Russell.
Wyatt Millam, offensive tackle out of West Virginia. That's the direction I'm going. This offensive line lost quite a bit up front, Ryan Kelly being out of there as well. Some people believe Millam could be a center. He provides 5 position versatility up front. He can play anywhere. So the Colts will figure out where he fits, but I think this one makes a lot of sense for his size and just ability to move.
Scott Bogman at 46 with the Falcons.
Princely Umanmielen, I think they need an edge rusher here, man. They've been trying to plug this hole for a long time. Traded for Matt Judon before the season started. He was bad. Ebiketie has been solid for them. They signed Leonard Floyd, but Brandon Trice has not worked out so far. D'Angelo Malone has not worked out at all. I think they need a guy to put pressure on the passer, and I think Umanmielen's the best guy left here for that.
I wish you would change your name to Princely. Princely Bogman's the way to go, I'm telling you. 47, Arizona, Derek Brown.
Well, they were smarting in the first round when they got sniped on Will Johnson, so the corner's still a need here. So let's give him Benjamin Morrison, cornerback out of Notre Dame.
Okay, Miami at 48, Russell.
We're going Darian Porter, corner out of Iowa State. I love the name Storm Duck, but when that guy's starting at corner for you, you can't have that. Miami, they need help in their secondary. We're going to take a guy with length, versatility, can play inside, outside, and he's incredibly athletic. We're going to go Darian Porter, corner, Iowa State.
Cincinnati Bengals at 49, Scott Bogman.
Look, I'm doubling up here. We talked about how bad pass rusher is for this team, and they can still trade Trey Hendrickson. That's still on the table. So I think Jack Sawyer brings not just a good edge rusher and a run defender, he also brings a team captain mentality that you lost with Sam Hubbard from Ohio State, the national champion. So I think adding those 2 guys to this line, keeping Hendrickson or not, just improves it, makes it a night and day difference in one draft. So I think just for motivation and for attitude and for a team captain type of pick, it would be really smart for the Bengals to start adding these type of players to their defense.
All right, at 50, the Seattle Seahawks, Derek Brown, somebody from Ohio State, just went off the board. We're going to go 2 for 2 here?
Yes, sir. And we are doubling up. Talked about it last time, helping Seattle in a different way with their blocking up front. Now I'm going to give them a more traditional route here. Let's give them guard Donovan Jackson at Ohio State. He also can has some experience playing tackle. So this is one of those where you just draft the guy and figure it out later where he's going to play for you.
Okay, next up, the Denver Broncos back on the clock at 51. Russell.
Harold Fannin, tight end Bowling Green is the pick here for me. A little surprised he's still available, but that's how this goes, as we said. I know they brought in Evan Ingram. He's on a 2-year deal, but he only played 9 games last year. He's coming off of an injury. I don't necessarily know if he's a long-term answer, obviously, for them. They get that here with Fannin. He's a great vertical threat. He'd be a perfect fit for Bo Nix, and they can do so much with him in that offense.
I'm a little surprised at this one because I was just reading about how they're going to use him as the Joker and signing Evan Ingram. So you think that would not preclude them from taking another tight end?
I don't think so. I think that this is a team that when you look at Sean Payton and his offenses in the past, he likes those multiple tight end sets. He likes guys that he can move around in formations, and I think Fannin can do that for him.
Next up here, the Seattle Seahawks again at 52. Scott Bogman, their second pick of this round.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've addressed the offense here now, so let's go with the defensive pick. I think Landon Jackson, edge from Arkansas, another guy that I got to see play Texas this year. Just a very, very good player. It's a big, big need for this team. I think they have some needs in the secondary as well, but I think Landon Jackson is kind of the end of an edge rusher tier, so let's go with him for the Seattle Seahawks.
Bunch of edge rushers. Last couple picks here at 53, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Derek Brown.
They need an upgrade over Kalijah Cansey, who has not been it so far in the NFL. Let's give them edge Jeanty Tuamoloa out of Ohio State. Excuse me.
Has in terms of Kalijah, do you think that that's it? Like, we're already done?
I think it's getting close to it, man. We're seeing enough where he just hasn't been it. But whether it's stopping the run, pressuring the quarterback, either way hasn't been an answer so far.
All right, Green Bay at 54. Russell, back to you.
Are we sure that the player I'm taking here isn't already on the roster? I feel like this is such a such a Packer pick. Marcus Embo out of Purdue. He can play center. He can play guard. I think he's best suited as a guard, but this is an offensive line that is really shorthanded in the middle. They paid a bunch of money for Aaron Banks, just kind of an odd offseason up front for the Packers. I think that this gives them a little bit of assurance as far as what they can provide at center or guard.
55, the Los Angeles Chargers. That's you, Scott Bogman.
I love it. Jaden Higgins still on the board here. One of my favorite wideouts from Iowa State. Give them a perimeter guy. Obviously, you have Ladd McConkey working the middle. Huge, enormous catch radius. So I think if he's open downfield, watching Herbert throw some rainbows to him is going to be a lot of fun. Also, I think the only guy at this point that we've drafted that had more targets than him was Tet McMillan. So a possession guy as well. I think just fits perfectly. And, big on Russ for taking Ezraku in the first round, addressing a need there, and having Higgins fall all the way back. I think that's a really good stack for the Chargers.
Sure is. They definitely need an outside wide receiver. At 56, the Buffalo Bills, Derek Brown.
Beef! They need beef up front, baby. Let's give them Alfred Collins, defensive tackle out of Texas. Ogunjobi's on a one-year deal. Daquan Jones can be an unrestricted free agent after the 2025 season. They need D-tackle.
All right, Russell, you want to keep helping the Carolina Panthers at 57 with their defense?
I do. We said it earlier. They had a terrible defense last year. They were kind of all in on Milton Williams in free agency and struck out. They don't strike out here. They take one of my favorite players in the draft, Shamar Turner, the defensive lineman out of Texas A&M. A lot of love for Shamar Stewart, absolutely, but teammate Shamar Turner provides a lot. He can be versatile as well. 4-eye, 5-tech, 3-tech, 6'3", 290. It's tough to move him. He's flashy. He's got the explosiveness, good lateral quickness. I think this one is just shoring up that defensive line and getting some help around Derek Brown.
All right. Well, we all know Derek Brown needs all the help he can get. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's get to let's get back to the Houston Texans at 58. Scott Bogman, we gave them some offensive line help. You want to give them some receiver help?
Yeah, I mean, who knows what's going on with Tank Dell, right? And John Mechie has not been the same since his injury and treatment and all that stuff. So I think Alec Amador, just a big, rangy type of wide receiver to put on the outside. They got Christian Kirk to play the slot. Obviously, Nico is on the other side, but this is a guy with an enormous catch radius, and that can help. Stroud showed that he probably wasn't as good as his rookie season, but I don't think he's as bad as he played last year either. I think he's probably somewhere in the middle, and this is a guy that can really help them out and rein in some first downs and help them move the chains, because it got real ugly after everybody got hurt, and Nico was the only guy left.
Sure did. All right, Baltimore Ravens are back on the clock at 59. D-Bro.
Just give them another Ravens type of pick, baby. We're going back to the trenches. Darius Alexander, D-tackle out of Toledo. Let's go.
Yeah, I can see the Ravens getting to the Super Bowl this year. I really can, especially if they have a good draft. All right, 60, we got the Detroit Lions and Russell.
Oh, that's a great pick.
We went defense. D-Bro. We went defense in the first round. We're going to go wide receiver Trey Harris from Ole Miss here in the second round. This just kind of feels like a Lions pick, finding value late in the draft as far as day 2 goes at pick 60. 4'5", 440 for Harris, 38.5-inch vertical, plenty explosive. This guy can win in the short, intermediate areas of the field, but also deep downfield. He can do so much after the catch. I think that this would be a great complement to JMO, St. Brown, Laporta, and it gives them a long-term player for the position because they got a lot of contracts to renew coming up.
Next up at 61, the Washington Commanders. Back to you, Scott Bogman.
Yeah, I'm going to go with another Longhorn here, Cameron Williams, a big right tackle out of Texas here. Still a very young prospect as well, so he can sit and learn if they need to, but I think he can also play at this level already. Just naturally huge built guy, and I think you stick him on the right side and you leave him there for a while. I think he would be a great fit for Washington.
And, all right, Buffalo Bills at 62, Derek Brown.
I don't know what Princely Bogman's going to do when he runs out of Texas players, but I'm going to go back to the secondary, or at least to the secondary for the Buffalo Bills. They need an upgrade at safety. It's giving Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame.
Princely Bogman does not concern himself with underlings and unimportant things. At 63, the Kansas City Chiefs, Scott Bogman, that's you.
I mean, I love this pick again. I love these two picks for the Chiefs. I think they would help out so much. Deion Walker, the big, massive interior defensive lineman from Kentucky, who we found out was playing with a broken foot all year last year, and we wondered why he wasn't as good as 2023. This guy is a space clogger, and if you have him next to Chris Jones, taking up two players and you're giving Chris Jones one-on-ones, that is going to be even more dangerous than it already is. So I think he's a perfect fit for KC here at pick number 63.
All right, Debro closes out here with the Eagles at 64.
Howie is going to do Howie things. Been a lot of rumors out there about Dallas Goedert moving on from the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, look, you're re-signing all these guys. You got to get the salary relief somewhere. So I'm doing a little projection here, boys, but Dallas Goedert, whether he stays or goes, I'm going to give him the long-term answer at tight end and give him Elijah Arroyo out of Miami. Again, he probably should have gone earlier in this draft, so Howie's going to do Howie things and take the falling value.
Let's get to round 3 of the NFL draft. Ooh-wee, I am excited. The Giants are up on the clock. Russell, this is a banger. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those where we thought maybe we wouldn't take a quarterback, but all of it's changed. We're going Jalen Milroe, quarterback out of Alabama. We know that Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson are not long-term answers, but this is maybe the perfect landing spot for Milroe. He gets a little bit of time to sit and learn, and maybe Brian Dable can do something. I didn't think Josh Allen was going to be anything. He turned him into something okay there in Buffalo. Not saying Jalen Milroe is going to be Josh Allen, but you get a guy that ran a 4.41 40 at his pro day, maybe 4.37 depending on who you talk to. We know he's explosive with the football in his hands. He can throw it, throws with great velocity. Ball placement is sporadic, but this is a great landing spot. You already have Malik Neighbors. We got him Luther Burden and Travis Hunter, and now you bring in Jalen Milroe. I mean, I might be a Giants fan after
Well, let's not say crazy thing. That's interesting that you weren't high on Josh Allen. It's funny because when I watched Allen, I saw like this raw talent that if he could be harnessed with the right coaching staff and grow, things could really go well. In fact, I even wrote about in the Black Book, I always write out the quarterbacks, how much I really like Josh Allen, but I understood the scout concerns, and obviously you're so good with that stuff. But it's funny because we're talking about another toolsy guy here in Milroe, who I have a lot of questions about, but interesting set of circumstances there you're talking about. Let's go back to, let's see, at 66, the Kansas City Chiefs are back on the clock here. Scott Bogman, you're up.
Let's go with Travion Henderson, the running back out of Ohio State. We've been told how this running back class is outstanding, and it is. But we do have them slipping a little bit because there's a lot of team needs, and the board is drying up at some other positions. But this just brings the value to the tippy top of the board. And Travion Henderson, a guy that he's not going to take the rock 25 times, 30 times for a team. He needs to be in a multi-back system. I think putting him next to Kareem Hunt would be perfect to make big plays. And this is a team, especially when they get rolling late and they're giving these running backs a little bit more space. We saw Henderson all throughout the playoffs make huge plays for the Buckeyes. So I think this would be a perfect, dangerous type fit for the Kansas City Chiefs.
What a fantasy mess. Pacheco, Hunt, and now Henderson. There you go. All right, let's go to the Cleveland Browns at 67, Derek Brown.
They need a new workhorse. Jerome Ford is not it. I'm going to give them my RB2 in this class. Caleb Johnson, running back out of Iowa.
I like that one. I like Caleb Johnson. I'm a big fan. That's a good landing spot, too, because they're going to have to run the football, especially with a young quarterback. Let's go to the Las Vegas Raiders at 68. Russell, you're up.
We're going to go linebacker Carson Schlesinger out of UCLA. This defense lost Robert Spillane. They're trying to piece it together with the Landon Roberts. I don't know if that's going to work, but you watch Schlesinger. He's always around the football, shorter arms, but a lot to like within his game. And I think Pete Carroll would fall in love with him as well.
69, the New England Patriots, Scott Bogman.
And this is the thing, D-Bro, is I don't run out of Texas players because the Patriots Isaiah Bond, the wide receiver out of Texas here, fell a little bit here in the draft. I think, still an insanely explosive player, even though he did not run that 4.2 flat or whatever he thought he was going to run. Did not happen for him, but still an insanely explosive player, great with the ball in his hands as well, just super, super fast, and that is exactly what the Patriots need. We've addressed the offensive and defensive lines already, so let's go ahead and give them a whiteout from Texas here.
I want to thank you, the three of you, for just giving me the perfect draft for the Patriots, because this is like, if I could have all of my druthers, all my wishes. I can't believe they paid Stephon Diggs that much money. I'm not happy about that, but if you give me Bond here, I'm happy in the third round. 70, Jacksonville Jaguars, D-Bro.
Mixing skill sets here, baby. We know the BTJ is going to get a ton of targets. I'm going to give them a dependable target that has outside-inside versatility. He could block his butt off on every single freaking snap. Player that I love in this process, Jack Besh, wide receiver out of TCU.
All right, pick number 71. The New Orleans Saints are on the clock. That means you, Russell.
Yeah, we're going to go Kyle Williams, wide receiver out of Washington State. A lot to like within his game. He's going to complement Chris Olave very well. Rashid Shaheed, another weapon for Derek Carr. So this one makes a lot of sense with what we've already done in the trenches for New Orleans up to this point.
Yeah, lots of questions about the health of that New Orleans wide receiver core for sure. 72, Chicago Bears with all these picks. Scott Bogman, they got another one. What do they do with this one?
Quinshon Judkins, running back from Ohio State. I feel like I'm not even the biggest on the Ohio State guys, but I love these fits here. I think he would slide right in. We kind of have already seen DeAndre Swift not work out well in Ben Johnson's system, so let's give them another running back here. I think Judkins is he reminds me a lot of Pacheco with the way he runs. High knees, aggressive, angry running style. I think he's a perfect complement to DeAndre Swift here.
I like Judkins. I liked him at the combine too. And I'll give a step further. DeAndre Swift, by the time the draft is over, is not a Chicago Bear. He gets traded on one of these draft days. Calling it now. There you go. Lock it up. Cut it. I can post it on social media. All right, 73, the New York Jets. D-Bro, give him something.
Quinnen Williams needs help on the defensive interior. Let's give him TJ Sanders, defensive tackle out of South Carolina.
Carolina Panthers at 74, Russell.
We're going Andrew Makuba, safety out of Texas. No surprise, another Longhorn. But this is a team that lost Jeremy Chin. We're going to add to that by replacing him with a player like Andrew Makuba.
A remade Carolina Panther defense. 75, the San Francisco 49ers, Scott Bogman.
I got Omar Norman-Lott, the big interior defensive lineman for Tennessee, going to the Niners here. We already talked about the defensive line needs a little bit of help at edge, but I think getting a push helps as well. They lost Gravedigger this year, so I think getting a big young guy that can push the pile is high up on the list for them.
76, the Dallas Cowboys and Derek Brown.
The Dallas Cowboys did what they should have done last year, and they locked Jerry Jones in a closet. Didn't let him get in front of a microphone, so this pick did not get sniped from them, baby. Let's give him R.J. Harvey, running back out of UCF, one of my favorite running backs in this class. 3-down workhorse type of guy, can play in the passing game, make things easy for Dak Prescott, and reel off big plays for Dallas.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with that backfield. Maybe Harvey is the answer. 77, the Patriots are back again, and so is Russell.
I think Joe might love this one. I'm going to give Mike Vrabel his own Jarrell Casey. Jamari Caldwell, defensive lineman from Oregon, is going to be the player that we go here. This is depth. This is a guy that can play early in his career on 2 downs, maybe even as a 3rd down player because he's so quick and elusive. I think this one's a no-brainer at pick 77. It's a great value, a plug-and-play starter in the 3rd round.
Love it. All these Oregon guys. Let's go. Arizona Cardinals, 78, Scott Bogman.
Still a lot of ways you can go for the Cardinals here, but I think Jordan Phillips is your last really dominant nose tackle, and they still play like a traditional 3-4 with multiple fronts. So I just think this is a perfect A-gap type of player for them, the big defensive lineman from Maryland.
The Houston Texans are up at 79, and Derek Brown.
Dude, I'm full on Oprah right now. You get a running back, you get a running back, you get a running back.
Well, it is the 3rd round. This is what happens now.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, they got to go somewhere, and we're piling up really talented players. I'm going to give the Houston Texans DJ Giddens, my RB6 in this class, running back out of Kansas State. Joe Mixon will be 30, after this upcoming season and they can get out of his contract with only a $2 million dead cap hit, let's get the Texans their future running back for the next 5 to 6 seasons.
Giddens to Houston, 80. The Colts get who, Russell?
We're going Mason Taylor, tight end out of LSU. We didn't get a tight end yet for Indy. Little surprise Taylor is here, but that's the way this thing was rolling. So we're going to take Taylor. He's a guy that I think has incredible upside as one of these tight end prospects in this draft.
Scott Bogman, the Bengals at 81.
Yeah, Kevin Winston Jr., the safety from Penn State, was banged up a lot this year, but very, very good player. And, we've added to the defensive line a lot. They don't need a lot on offense, maybe some offensive linemen, but I think right now the defense was so miserable last season. You have to focus on getting it changed, and I think this is a big, nice, strong safety for option for Cincinnati here.
All right, Debro, you're back at 82 for the Seahawks.
Give him a player that not only is a run after the catch threat, but can stretch the field, has speed. Jalen Royals, wide receiver out of Utah State. We already gave him Tyler Warren, addressed the trenches for Seattle. Let's give him another playmaker.
All right, what are we going to give Pittsburgh at 83, Russell?
We're going back to Oregon. We're going with one of my favorite players in this draft, my 50th ranked player, Jordan Birch, edge out of Oregon. He's a guy that's also incredibly versatile, can play in multiple spots. I love the first step explosiveness from him, but he's incredibly bendy. And this is a guy that just, to me, screams Pittsburgh in this spot because they'll develop him into something way more than what he already is.
Also incredibly bendy, Scott Bogman at 84, taking the next pick for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Let's go Mello Dotson, the cornerback out of Kansas. I just think this is another weak spot on the defense for the Tampa Bay Bucks. Linebacker is a weak spot as well. There's not one here, so let's go with Mello.
Okay, the Denver Broncos at 85, Debro.
Edge is not a huge need right now, but John Franklin Myers is an unrestricted free agent after 2025. Let's give them Kyle Kennard, edge out of South Carolina.
Next up here at Green Bay, the Chargers are up next, at 86. Russell, you're on the clock.
We're going Jacob Parrish, the corner out of Kansas State. This is a defensive backfield for the Chargers that has really been dismantled with injuries. They've lost Asante Samuel Jr. They haven't at least re-signed him. He hasn't signed anywhere, but I like this fit here. You just add some depth to your secondary and a potential starter down the road at some point in year one.
Now we can do the Packers pick here at 87, Scott Bogman.
Yeah, I'm going to go linebacker here. It's kind of, I think for the Packers, these are a lot of kind of luxury picks. I mean, I know Pat wants a wide receiver, but I think that Quay Walker, Edge Cooper, there's not a lot of depth behind them. McDuffie kind of played more towards the edge last season. So let's go with Chris Paul Jr., the linebacker out of Ole Miss, to kind of fill one of those spots.
Poor Pat. 3 rounds, no wide receivers for his Packers.
Wah,
wah, wah. 88, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Debro, you're up.
Their front office, every time somebody has stuck a mic in their face, has talked about improving the interior of this offensive line to give Trevor Lawrence time. They started that improvement with signing Patrick McCarry. I'm going to give them another upgrade here over Ezra Cleveland to give him Tate Ratledge, offensive guard out of Georgia.
Russell, you're up with the Texans at 89.
We're getting depth here on the interior part of the defensive line in Houston. They've got Tim Settle, Sheldon Rankins. That's fine, but you need somebody that maybe moves the needle a little bit more, and that player is Josh Farmer here from Florida State. He's a solid 3 technique. He's very strong. He can hold his own at the point of attack. There's times he's a little high and narrow base, but this is a player that you put him in this system, I think he develops into something much better down the road.
The Rams at 90 and Scott Bogman.
How about another Texas player? Quinn Ewers, the quarterback out of Texas. And look, this is a nice pick because he does not have to play at all this year. It's Jimmy G is behind Matthew Stafford, so he can sit and learn and be third string. I think that's what you do if you're a smart franchise. You take a guy in the third, you develop him, you see what he's got, and if he's good enough, you either keep him as your starter or you can trade him to a team that is QB desperate. This is what the Patriots have done for years and years,
Yeah.
and it has always worked in their bonus. So I think this is a nice fit for the Rams here.
Maybe Milton, the next guy to be out there. 91, the Baltimore Ravens, Derek Brown.
They need more corner depth opposite Wiggins and Humphrey. I know they just signed Jacoby Awuzie. I don't even know what he's got left, man, in the tank. Let's give him cornerback Dorian Strong out of Virginia Tech.
92, the Seattle Seahawks, Russell.
We're going Jarrett Wilson, interior offensive lineman from Georgia. He would be a starting center for them. They lost Connor Williams to retirement. I think Wilson had a great combine. He ran the 40 in 4.84 seconds. He had a pretty good shuttle time as well at 4.56. So I think this guy can be almost plug and play for them in a big area of need because they don't have anybody at center at this point.
Okay. Next up here, back to Scott Bogman for the New Orleans Saints at 93.
It's my favorite pick in the draft here because I get to make my boy Debo mad with it as well because it's his team. But Cam Skattebo in the third round to the Saints, a guy that can carry a full workload. And you can also assume that if this is the pick in the third round, I do think that Alvin Kamara would probably be traded in this draft. So just a guy that you can turn around and hand the ball to 25, 30 times a game. We saw him do it in college. A big, massive, upright runner. There are questions about his speed and all that good stuff, but I think, I watched him dismantle a Texas defense that has had a bunch of picks go in this draft.
It was a fun game.
I think he is an NFL level player. So, and if he is, I think he's going to get a ton of touches, and that's exactly what the Saints need.
That was the game of the year. Look, Derek, whether you like it or you don't, you got to admit, that was the best sounding.
I think at this point, you got to like that pick.
Yeah,
right?
and
It's also
round
the best
3 is
sounding, guys, it's the best sounding Cajun name you could possibly ask for. Skattebo! Could you say it in your big Louisiana accent? I mean, come on.
Jeez,
That's your Adam Sandler accent.
Got it. Cam Skattebo. All right, let's go to Cleveland here. 94. Debro, you're up.
Oh, dear Lord, help
Go
me.
get Beignet at the end of the draft.
Oh, man. Definitely going to need one. Let's give Shedeur Sanders some more weapons on the offensive side. Terrence Ferguson, tight end out of Oregon. David Njoku is an unrestricted free agent after 2025. So Cleveland planning for the present and the future.
There you go. The 95 Kansas City Chiefs. Back to you, Russell.
We're going to go Billy Bowman, defensive back out of Oklahoma. This was a player that was not on my radar, but every single time I was watching somebody against Oklahoma's defense, he stood out. And this guy plays with urgency. He can be a nickel. He can be a safety. You think of Steve Spagnuolo and his defense. He likes versatile defensive backs. I know they've got Jaden Hicks, but this defense lost Justin Reed. They need somebody back there. I think Billy Bowman Jr. is a no-brainer at pick 95, but maybe a steal at this point.
Bogman at 96, the Eagles.
Let's go with a defensive end. Replace Brandon Graham from Michigan, 20 years ago with another defensive end from Michigan here, and give them Josiah Stewart, the big edge rusher out of Michigan. I mean, we know that this is the strength of this team, and let's just keep it rolling. You cannot let it get weak. So I think just dropping him into this rotation would be a very smart move.
Okay, got some other picks here. The Minnesota Vikings at 97. Debro, you're up.
They don't have many picks in the top part of this draft. I mean, only 2 in the top 100, so they got to fill needs here, boys. We gave him a safety at first, and now let's give him cornerback Kobe Bryant out of Kansas.
Russell, the Miami Dolphins at 98.
We're going a big body receiver, Savion Williams. You look at him, he's 6'4". He's built like a prototypical X receiver. I think he can do that. He runs like the wind blows. I mean, he's super fluid, but this is a guy that just cannot catch the football. If he can catch the football, he can be a dangerous weapon in the NFL. And you pair him here with Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill. Maybe it works out with him in Miami.
Scott Bogman, you're up next with the Giants at 99.
I haven't addressed the O-line for the Giants yet, so let's go there. Charles Grant, the offensive lineman from William & Mary, he played as a tackle. I think he projects more as a guard, but I think he's a piece that you can move around this offensive line, and that's exactly what they need in New York. So let's go with Charles Grant, offensive lineman from William & Mary.
Debro, what do the 49ers need at 100?
Oh, well, I mean, we've arrived to the third round, so we know exactly where the 49ers are going to go every single year, third and fourth round, where they always go, and this is a need. Quietly a need. I'm going to give them running back Bashal Tootin out of Virginia Tech. And I know everybody says, well, they got Isaac Orindo. Look, CMC, we still don't know if he can stay healthy. He could be gone after this year. I mean, they could cut him and move on and save 1.2 mil, only an 8.5 million dead cap hit. Isaac Orindo, we talk about injury histories. He's got a decent one himself. So let's give the 49ers some depth in the running back room.
At 101, the Rams and Russell.
We're going Demetrius Knight, linebacker out of South Carolina. This guy's a pro's pro. He's 25 years of age, but he's married. He's got kids. This is going to be like a 10-year vet, I feel like, in the NFL. His cousin is D'Angelo Hall. I think that the Rams would love to have a veteran rookie, essentially, here at the linebacker position at this spot.
And closing out round 3 and our show, the Detroit Lions at 102 and Scott Bogman.
Don't mess
Baron
it up, Scott.
Sorrell. I still have Texas players left in this draft here.
Still had one more
edge
English
rusher.
member. Yeah. There you go. Another Texas, but the perfect way to end a draft with Scott Bogman. There you have it, everybody. Mock draft of not 1, not 2, but 3 rounds for the NFL, which also the NFL draft is going to be live here on the channel. Don't forget, subscribe to Fantasy Pros. We're trying to get to 300,000 subscribers this year. We can do it with your help. So subscribe to the channel. Make sure you ring the bell till it goes ding for notifications, and drop your comments below. Let us know why every single pick we made was absolutely correct and clearly going to happen. Because I know in the YouTube comments, that's exactly what you guys are going to say. But regardless, this is fun. So give us your picks, the picks you would have made. Give us the picks that you want to make for your specific teams. Just comment below. Have some fun with it, because it's a mock draft show. It's supposed to be fun. This was very fun. Gentlemen, great work as always. Russell, phenomenal breakdowns of all the players too. Please go follow Russell over on the Twitter machine at Russ NFL Draft. He is spectacular. Check out his work at Betting Pros and Fantasy Pros. He does a lot of stuff. The Lions podcast too. He's a busy boy and a great football mind, and I appreciate you, man. I love having you on the show. Thank you so much for coming on today. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on for D-Bro, Russell Brown, and the Scott Bogman. I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids. Happy mocking.